Hi guys, Esther here from Esther-Astro-Healing. Thank you for tuning to my channel. Today we're going to analyze personal chart, natal chart of Justin Trudeau. Now, before I'm going to start, first of all, I can ask you can make yourself coffee or tea or have a drink. We're going to have interesting right here. We're going really to analyze his chart in great detail, like you probably never heard before, with ancient technology and directly with fixed sign with the stars. We're going to see what kind of stars beside his own natal chart he got, what combination, and as well if he got any royal stars or any other stars which is can influence him as a personal and his personality and decision maker. One thing I want to ask all of us as a spiritual being, we need to send him very good energy because, we open any chart I'm open, it's you connecting to the soul, the spiritual DNA of the soul when you look at the chart. And no matter what you feel about him, positive, negative, whatever, you know, ideas you already built in your mind, it's really important for us to inject our spirituality, our kind heart. And I do believe when we send good energy, especially to the leader, we need to remember he's in a leadership position no matter what. And for us, it's always easy to judge and to analyze someone, but to understand someone on a soul level and deep and understand where they're coming from and to have more mercy and kindness, it's really important no matter what. So this is why before I'm going to start, I'm asking you guys to really to be with open heart and to really to look at his chart like another soul, another individual who came to this dimension to do his job. And we always need to understand no one can get permission in this dimension to become leader without get permission from above. This is really important to remember. And as the Holy Zohar stay, every time any country getting leader, we always getting leader according to the consciousness of the people of the country. So this is really important as well to remember. Okay. So I will go over. So now you can see his sky. Again, we're dealing with the Sidereal Babylonian system. As you know, I do not practice Western astrology. Western astrology, it's deal with seasons. Here we're dealing directly with the sky, with the fixed sign. So it's really important as well. I will go the way how I'm going to start. I will go first his chart. I will announce what combination he has. And then we will start actually with South and North Node. And the reason we're going to start, because according to Kabbalistic technology, before you can understand any one chart, you really want to understand where they came from. Because remember, the South Node in Indian astrology is called Ketu, and North Node it's called Rahu. It's the nodes which is the accompany the moon. And the South Node in his chart, I'm going to show you right now, it's in Cancer. You can see my arrow. And his North Node in Capricorn. And Cancer in 12th house and Capricorn in the 6th house. So it's really, really important for us to start from that because we need to understand the foundation, where he came from. What the past life experience and lesson he brought in order for us to understand the human. So when I do any chart of my own clients, we always start with the north and the south and north node in order for us to understand where we came from and why perhaps then we can understand everything else what unfold later, right? So another thing really important, then we will go to moon, then we're going to touch sun, and we're going to rising. So this is basically we're going to go over. So let's just go over what combination he has in his chart. He has a sun in Sagittarius, and it's in the 5th house, and it's in 10 degree. His Mercury in Scorpio, and it's in 19 degree, and it's in 4th house. His Venus in Capricorn, and it's 10 degree, and it's in the 6th house. His moon is in Pisces, and it's 23 degree, and it's in the 8th house. His Mars, accompanied with the moon in the same house, 8th house in Pisces. His Jupiter, it's in Scorpio, and it's actually 27 degrees, and it's in 4th house. His Saturn, it's a 7th degree, and it's Taurus, and it's in 10th house. And his Uranus, it's in Virgo, in its 2nd house, and it's in 24th degree. His Neptune 10th degree in Scorpio, in the 4th house. His Pluto in Virgo, in the 8th degree, in his 2nd house. And South and North Node, I already mentioned. We're going to over them right now in more depth. And then we have midheaven in Taurus. It's in the 10th house. And we have rising in Leo, in the 10th degree. So let's really understand what is really to have a South Node in Cancer. South Node really represent where we came from. So to say, if you believe or not believe in the past life, but just put in the perspective for yourself. So the experience from the past lives, and to be in the South Node in Cancer, it's really experience you need to go to take care of people. It's somebody who will need to go through a lot of sacrifice, and it's really female energy as well. It's motherhood. It's priesthood in as well, right? And it's what's really interesting. It's in 13th degree in Cancer. Let me see where my sky of the Cancer, and the 13th degree in Cancer. It's actually touch and start Acellus Nebula. We have a Acellus Nebula has Acellus Bohr inside as well. And in 30 degrees, it's very interesting, but it represents simple life without ambition and fame. And it's just showing you, this because of the 13 degrees as well, and because it's in the 12th house, it's mystical house. By the way, it's a 12th house. It's the house of priesthood as well, from the mystical, from hidden knowledge. And in his case, because it's on 13 degrees and it's in Cancer, it's showing that he came from the place of luck. He didn't have much wealth. He needed to go through process where he really need to be there for people, and so to say, to sacrifice. And now he got Rahu in Capricorn, which is in the 6th house. And when you have a Rahu in the Capricorn, first of all, let's come back again to Ketu a little bit. So I just will give you example. It's definitely karma with the family as well. So he came to work in the karma with his own family. And, literally like emotional instability in a sense as well. Because I will give you example. Because he got Rahu in Capricorn, let's say his family, he wants to be actor, or he wants to be dancer, or he wants to really connect to spirituality. His family can tell him, honey, we understand you want to be actor, but honey, you have a different mission in this life. Therefore, you really need to go and, to achieve higher career. And this is exactly what Rahu wanted, right? And he has Venus here, which is, I'm going to leave this until the end, because his Venus in such a tricky position together with Rahu. One of the reasons I was hesitating even to do his chart, to be honest with you guys, because it's his energy, and I really want to be fair, the information I can reveal, because if I will do chart directly with my client, I can say many more things. But even here, he's a public figure and everything. I still decide certain information to keep because it's energy, and we need to be respectful as well. But I will tell you a little bit after about this Venus, what I'm talking about. So right away, we need to understand he came to work on the, one of his karmic things is actually to work in the family dynamic with his family, with his immediate family. I'm talking about his parents. And this is why one of his tikkun this lifetime in Capricorn in high position. And again, we need to understand what is really Capricorn. Capricorn came from the 10th house, right? So this is the career, it's dharma, it's public recognition, it's wisdom as well, it's discipline, authority, it's a structure, it's respect, it's fame, right? So this is completely opposite from his essence, where he came from. So let's just keep this in mind, this information, okay? Because right now we study how to be astrologers, how to read chart. We want to go to the deeper places, not just what obvious we can see. So from this place, I would like to jump to his moon and to his Mars. And his moon, anytime I do people chart and I can see they have important planets in the Pisces, it's always complicated, because really Pisces, they don't really exist in this reality. This is the energy in the sign which is need to be, so to say, in few dimensions at the same time. And it's in his case, the moon, which is together with Mars, it's very heavy combination. You can feel it's almost like oblivion, like lost, lack of bond, in certain level insecurity about the whole identity and this their own place in society. Understand? Plus moon represent mother, and it's almost like a spirituality must for this combination, that for sure. So in order to navigate themselves in this dimension, they really need to constantly study spirituality to understand really what's happening. And plus, Pisces is the lord of the 12th house. It's the foreign land, right? And what else? We need to understand really the energy the moon sitting in, right? Because moon represent as well inflammation. It's represent um moon represent our inside world. It's called or makif or pnimi. Our surround light, it's our rising, it's our ego. Our moon, it's our inside light, it's Orpnimi. And as well, it's represent the mother in the chart too. So it's really, really important. And because it's in the 12th house, it's in the 8th house, but it's Pisces. Pisces is the lord of the 12th house. It represents intuition, psychic abilities, it's a mental health, it's empathy, and it's lost, right? It's lost of self. It's a different level of addiction. It's self-sacrifice, and it's behind the scene. It's the secrets. Now, what's really interesting, I'm going to touch upon right now, which is I don't think you can hear this from any astrologer beside the ancient astrologers. Let's understand what is the Pisces. And Pisces, I'm going to look right now to the combination, which is 23-degree. You see, the 23-degree, it's touching the court of Pisces. It's between both Pisces and it's directly touching court. And I check really in ancients what they really say about 23 degrees, and it actually represent Andromeda. And if you remember the story of Andromeda, forget the mythology, but it's really energetical force. It's energy of prisoners, it's energy of sickness and separation. So it's looked to me when his mom was pregnant with him, she was going through a really tough time. She was deciding maybe to stay in marriage, maybe to something she was going through while she was going through her pregnancy. Because in his whole chart, he has a really deep connection with his mom, almost like they knew each other for sure past lives. His mom really strong in his chart, and his father too, by the way, his father too, but his mom especially. And his mom, she's in all his chart, and we're going to see where he's not someone who can easily trust other people. He's barely doesn't have anyone in his life, according to his chart, who he really trusts, except his mom. It's almost his mom just being present in the same room, they together understand each other, body language. She even can feel. I know a lot of mothers can say, but they have very special connection. And another very, very important thing I want to mention about Chiron. His Chiron actually in the 8th house in Pisces, and it's a connect to the loss and pain. So he's carrying some kind of pain from his childhood, the pain of almost to be foreign in his own family. Even though he had connection with his mom, he was always looking to do something completely different, in a sense, what he's doing now. We can understand this later as well. Now, let's look what else. So, every time when we look at the planet it's sitting, we need to understand the sign it's sitting in, and as well the house. And we'll look at the 8th house. So the moon sitting in the 8th house. 8th house, it's a house of almost like rising phoenix. It's from the ashes. It's all about transformation. It's about life and death. It's about rebirth. Do you understand this? Like his moon so deep and so complicated. He's literally trying all his life, trying to accept himself and to connect to himself and to understand what is really pain. Because looks to me, he's really avoiding the spirituality and what he really came to work on it. And the eighth house represent, fearless, fearlessness, depth, crime, inheritance, right? Other people, money, loyalty, sex, mysticism. Eighth house is a very, very, very karmic house. And now what we have here? We have here Mars. If Moon will be on her own, she's already having a little bit of hard time. But now Moon has a Mars, which is Mars really don't like to be in Pisces. He's conflicted here, as you know. First of all, but the only thing for Mars in his own house, which is it's helpful, right? Why? Because when Mars in the eighth house, even though eighth house has Pluto as well, but it has energy in Mars, so Mars still trying to find himself in this combination. And by the way, for him, because of the Mars in the Pisces, it's really important to dance, to use his feet. Very important. Because one of the health issues he might have, definitely thyroid, sexual organs, because of the eighth house. But in the same time, because it's in the Pisces, he always needs to take care of his feet, his spine, because sometimes when you have moon in the Pisces, almost like you're spineless, like you don't have really, so to say, your own inner core. You can be, even sometimes, when I see people who have moon in Pisces, sometimes they lose money, they don't have money, they don't really bother by that. In a way, it's good for spirituality because you don't depend on money. But when you're leader of the country, and you really little bit, you can be in la la land about financial situation, what's happened, can really affect other people. So here we can see on the, especially he's 50 years old, he's going to be 50 years old very soon. His birthday December 25th. He born, by the way, I forgot to mention, he born in Ottawa. He born in 1971 December 25th. And he's coming 50. And when man 49 years old, according to ancient, he's literally start operate from the eyes of his moon. And it's a little bit difficult for country to have a leader. You have a moon and you become, he's almost 50 years old. Moon really start to take over more than anything else. So he's really he start to really to ask himself a little bit more questions about his emotional state. He will start more connect to, and this is not strong moon for leadership, and especially with the Mars here. Okay, now Mars, as you can see, we have two fishes. One fish is actually fish, which is close to Aries. Now we have to keep in mind constellation of Pisces is one of the largest constellation we have in the sky. So you can see Pisces we still have here in the realm of Aries. But this Pisces, which is Mars touching here, this is Pisces in ancient called birdie fish. Usually people who connect to these Pisces, to this part of fishes, they know how to speak. And sometimes because he has a Mars here as well, he can be he can actually have some kind of debilitation the way how he speak. It's sometimes it's not really clear, so he really needed to learn through since his childhood, really work on his speech and his speech skills as well. You can see that it's coming from his birth. So we really want to keep in mind his orpnimi. In Hebrew, it's his insight light. What's really, and it's really deep connection to his mom, again, to his mom. So it's really important too. So another thing I want to mention, I want to mention about this combination with the Pisces, Pisces and Mars over here. Mars can activate. I checked another thing, and I was really want to make sure that I'm making the right comments about that. But when Mars with Pisces in the eighth house, according to ancients, it can bring some kind of humiliation. disgrace, and it represents dark secrets. So, and it's even can bring loss of reputation. And there's a key to it. When we're gonna work on his progress chart, I'm gonna do, this is the video part 1, and part 2 we're going to discuss the Canadian sky and him as a leader, and we're going to check what is really progress chart with Canada and what is the progress chart with Justin Trudeau. And we can see if he's actually can win this election and if it's actually even good for him to continue to be in this leadership position, literally for his health and for his emotional health. Okay, so let's jump to his sun. What's really interesting about his sun in Sagittarius, he has a very strong sun, and it's in the 5th house. But one thing you want to pay attention and you want to notice, you can see the wheel, it's like a pie, and it's been divided in 2. So everything on the upper level, it has more energy. So you have usually when you look at the chart, you have any planets and any combination in upper level, they're much stronger. Over here, he's mainly have a night chart, and it's actually not really, it's kind of concealed energy in a sense. So for the sun, usually to be in the down level, it's a little bit harder. But because it's in the 5th house, it's in Sagittarius, it's a strong position. It's definitely a strong position. And what's really interesting, I want to mention about his sun. His sun. It's first of all, it's represent. A Sagittarius represent preacher. It's represent teaching, and it's represent father. Is very father who was very disciplined. By the way, it's represent high education, and he's can be good with money in the sense of he will know how to spend money, that for sure. He doesn't really with the siblings, not really positive for the siblings when you have sun in Sagittarius, and usually sun Sagittarius always recommend to be more gentle with the spouse. But what's really interesting here, because his father represents sun and it's in Sagittarius, when you have sun in Sagittarius in the 5th house, your own father can be much stronger leadership position than you are. So it's really interesting. Now, what else I want to mention here? Let's see, the sun, it's 10 degree and it's in Sagittarius. Let me go to my notes for the sky, for the stars, if he has any. Okay, so he connect to Atlas. Atlas is one of the stars which is connected to the fighters in Victorious. So it's from his son and from his father. When his father was alive, he always had additional energy, so to say, support from his father to be more victorious and more supportive. But he has a conflicted energy here at the same time with this 10-degree combination. And it's almost like he was fighting with his father, because according to his childhood and his moon, and as well, I can see the whole combination together. He had very complicated relationship with his own father. So he was, so to say, rebellion with his father. Okay. He definitely was looking for approval of his father, but in the same time, he was really trying to be somebody else, not necessarily what his father was expecting from him. You can see that as well in the chart. What else I wanted to go over right now? Let's look at them. Let's go to his rising. He's rising in Leo. Now, rising in Leo, it's very powerful. First of all, the chart ruler, it's Leo, and it's connecting to communication. It's really good with children, by the way. He's excellent. He's very creative. He's very talented. He can be very good advisor. He's really good with love and romance, fun, and it's really superior energy. Rising in Leo, when person with rising in Leo even enter a room, you can feel his presence. You can feel his, he's really somebody who has, so to say, royalty inside of him. This is something you cannot take away from him. Plus, I want to mention here, he has his rising touching 2 very important stars, Regulus and as well Zosma. Zosma connect to mysticism. It's connect to astrology. It's very strong. It's actually start of astrology. And then we have Regulus. Regulus, it's about support from king, leadership position. So in his rising, he's definitely have a lot of support here. So what is the rising? Let's really understand the rising as well. Rising, it's in Hebrew, it's called or makif, our surround light. Now, it's so to say our ego, how we present ourselves to the outside world. It's not necessarily who we really are inside and what we really think. This is why his moon with his Mars, it's revealed completely different information, completely different identity, who he is really on a soul level, deep inside his insecurities, his thought, what he's really want and how he feel deep inside, and even on the heart level. But rising, it's all about show. And he's an excellent showman, by the way. He's definitely, don't forget, it's one of the best position to be actor. And at some point, if you guys remember, he was really pursuing that. He wanted to be actor, he wanted to be teacher, which is his son in Sagittarius. And he could be really good at it, by the way. Now, for the leadership position, when you have such a moon, like I mentioned, especially when he's already become after 50 years old, this moon really having hard time here, and it's debilitated along with the Mars. So he's really conflicted. He doesn't have enough emotional bonds and support within him in order for him to carry on and continue the leadership position and to make even the right clear decisions. And we're going to go on right now to understand why even more. So the next one I want us to talk to about actually about Mercury. Mercury in Scorpio. Let's look at his Mercury. Now, what's really interesting about his Mercury sitting in the fourth house. And we have Neptune as well sitting in the fourth house, and we have a Jupiter sitting in the fourth house. Now, fourth house, remember, it represents home, it represents mother energy, it represent our childhood, and it represent IC. You can see he has a midheaven. What is the midheaven? Midheaven, it's so to say what God expecting from us. This is our mission, who we really, so to say, to be on a deathbed, how really creation wants us to be to achieve. And in his case, it's in the Taurus, in the 10th house of public, of achievement, of career. It's important, but his childhood, you can see, it's actually very interesting. It's in Scorpio. Now we can say a lot of things here about his childhood, and he had, he was protected in a sense by his mom because it's in the fourth house, but at the same time because he has a Mercury. And the Mercury really touching, 19 degrees. I'm gonna graph right now what is actually Scorpio saying here. It's really interesting because when I was really analyzing his chart, and especially what other stars he's touching. So to have Mercury in 19 degree, he's actually touching Hercules, which is connected to the workman. And what's really interesting, very interesting, Mercury in Scorpio, plus we have with Neptune, it's very unusual. It's someone who can have almost, we always say when you have somebody with Mercury in Scorpio, don't invest too much in those people because they're gonna bite you in the end. They're very tricky. It's very tricky to have a Scorpio, in Mercury in Scorpio. It's kind of he will need to go through a very deep transformation in order for him to really properly to use his mind and his mouth. And Mercury will have it's like a deep observation in research, right? When you have a Mercury in Scorpio, you become real investigator. You in a room and you observe everything. You calculating, you almost like a creating plan of attack. This is what he has inside of him. And some example of, to find the balance in this mix by really understanding the past the history, and as well the mysticism. It's really this Mercury looking for very deep knowledge and deep understanding of past knowledge, about esoteric knowledge as well. Very important. And it can be very, very sharp mouth. What can I tell you? They usually don't trust. Mercury in Scorpio, they have very hard time to trust anyone, even in their own team. And when it's another thing we need to understand, when Mercury in the fourth house, it's a good placement for Mercury because he loves his family. He talks about his family. He wants really his family to achieve really good height. And he's probably very philosophical with his kids. It's very interesting, I have to say. Now, one thing I want to mention, when you have Neptune here, now, to have Neptune in in Scorpio, it can be a little bit tricky. It can be misleading. On top of it, he came really to transform. It's really important. But Neptune in Scorpio, they want to escape from reality. You understand? It's huge psychic ability. But what is the Neptune? Neptune is dreamy planet, right? It's spacey. It's unpredictable. It represents musicians, artists, by the way, another placement for him, right? It's an excellent placement for him to be in art, to be in the theater, in the movie. He could be amazing in that. But it's at the same time in Scorpio, it represents deception, denial, confusion, and even lie and making things up just to gain your own interest. It's really not easy combination, I have to tell you guys. It's like a double edge with this Mercury. It can be manipulating. Now we have a Jupiter here, and the Jupiter was going through transit, and you can see it's not really strong Jupiter. It's invisible, even though it's 27 degree. So let's see what Scorpio is saying about 27 degree. I'm looking right now to another paperwork I have from ancients about the stars. I'm trying to find what is really, it's actually connect to energy of healers. It's a head of oath. So he actually have a few combination in his chart, then he actually can be healer because he came place of this past life of healer, someone who take care of people. But it's been debilitated here. It's been almost like it's invisible. It's not strong. No, it's not strong Jupiter. So you can see, I can point over here. Okay, but it's in the fourth house. He really cared for his family, but he doesn't have enough energy and courage really to make a proper decision for himself, where he's really want to be. Now, again, this fourth house in his chart, it's really represent his childhood. And fourth, it's represent, in a sense, it's represent home. Even though the early dynamic of the childhood, the second house, beside the house of money and the other achievement, but fourth house, it's really important and is directly. And we have here not really peaceful environment. He didn't really have environment. He can really, in a sense, he always trying to be somebody than than people expect from him, from his own household. This is what it's look like. So let's keep this in mind before we're gonna move to. Let's move right now to Pluto and to Uranus. Now you can see he has a Pluto in Uranus. He has in the second house. Now Pluto in Uranus, I'm going to combine them together. I'm not going to talk separate about them because it's really interesting. Even though they have almost 15 degrees apart, they don't have perfect conjunction, but they in the second house, right? And what is really second house? The second house is extremely important house because it's the house of material world. It's about possession, it's finance, it's about luxury, talents. It's the early family dynamic, as I mentioned before. It's a self-esteem, is the self-worth, is the security within. Now we have a leader in Canada who has a Pluto in Uranus in Virgo, which is Virgo. We need to understand Virgo, it represents healing, but it represents pharmaceutical companies as well. And over here we have two planets, which is they both about lack of restrictions, sudden events, and Pluto is the king of the underworld, is the king of mysticism and metaphysics, and its planet represents Scorpio, and it's sitting in the combination of pharmaceutical. So we need, and it's in the money house. So we need to keep this in mind. This is what's happening here. So right now, with everything what we already learned about him, we need to understand something. We're talking about someone who came. He has actually good heart. He is someone who really came to practice spirituality and to be more in a spiritual leader position and not necessarily political. But because he's been in a way introduced and forth, so to say, because of his Rahu as well, we're going to talk about his Venus. Oh, this is really, not easy for me to say here, but his Venus, it's really not positive for his chart. His Venus touching the horns of Taurus, of Capricorn, and it's one of the most negative position you can have in a chart. And it's Venus. It's sexuality, it's secret desires of different level of sexuality. I don't want to tell you people represent this type of Venus. It's not positive Venus. And I'm really praying to God, then he will wake up and to move out from, for his own soul, to move out from politics, because this Venus is been fitted by Rahu. And I'm going to look at right now to Capricorn. Let me find with the Capricorn. I want to see the sky combination of Capricorn. Yeah, there you go. The Capricorn, the 10 degree, it's Capricorn's horns. Yeah. And it's really not positive degree, it's using sexuality and using other forces, not positive forces. I don't want to mention what other things the horns of Capricorn represent, right? And when you have a Venus there, you can become very creative with negative stuff as well. So I really hope he's gonna more connect to his spirituality than the other side, because we have to remember Rahu, it's very malefic. Rahu expand everything what he's sitting in, and it's sitting in the sixth house, right? Now the sixth house, it's the house, it's the house of day-to-day life. It's about work routine, it's about employment and about duties, but it's house of service, but it's house of conflict as well, and illnesses too, because 8th house and 6th house as well. So this is one of the most disturbing combination he has in his chart. And this is something I'm kind of, I don't really like it. I don't really like to have, he has a lot of good stuff going on, definitely. In his essence, he is a good soul, but this combination, because he's been given opportunity to be in such a high position, I really hope he's not going to go over and be some kind of part of some kind of negative cult, because this is, it's also what it's going to mean. He's going to deeply going inside of his tikkun, inside of his correction, instead to work on it. He's gonna create even extra tikkun, extra negative stuff, which is going to be really difficult for him to overcome this lifetime. So I hope by doing and revealing this information, we can help him, and we can send a lot of light to his soul, to his energy, so he will, because we can influence our leaders by transforming our own self. Because when you transform within, when you change yourself, and then you do prayer for somebody else, your prayer answer even more. So what I'm saying to all of us, to take different approach, instead to judge him, to analyze him, to really talk to his soul and ask him, and to ask Light of Creator if we're all ready for the new leadership, for new position, for someone who can bring new energy for the country, which is my part 2 video. I'm working on it for Canada. Canada have such an unbelievable chart. I don't know how I didn't look before in Canadian chart. And Canada have an absolutely amazing, bright future. And we really need a new leadership. And I do believe Justin Trudeau has a lot of good qualities. He has a lot of things he can bring to society, but not necessary to be the prime minister and leader of this country. Now, one thing I want to mention as well, you can see his midheaven has another visitor. He has Saturn. Now, so what is Saturn? Saturn is planet, in Hebrew it's called Shabtai. It represents Saturday, Shabbat. It represents high learning. It represents, Saturn for me, it's one of the most important planets for our tikkun process, for our correction, what we came really, really to work. Because Saturn, he always check our intention, not just what we say, what we do, what obvious. The Saturn check what is really our intention, who we really are. And Saturn represent, simple people. This is one of the reasons, by the way, and it's in the 10th house. This is one of the reasons Justin Trudeau won. I will tell you another reason, the second time why he won. But the initial he won because people was really trusting him, what he was saying and what was his intention. And initially he was really, I do believe initially when he was running for the office, everything what he says, his platform, it's exactly what he meant, because he's a good on the soul level. But as soon he got on this position and he's got more power, I can see he can easily abuse the power he's been given, and he can take in really wrong direction as well. So this is why I do believe his time it's to go and to pursue different career, and he's going to be much, much happy. And I really hope he is an astrologer, because with his chart, with his understanding of the world and underworld as well, he knows what is astrology, he knows how powerful it is. And I really hope his astrologer can give him proper advice in order for him to be happy, because if he's going to he's running again for the office, this position going to actually make him potentially sick, emotionally sick. He's in his progress chart. We'll go over his progress chart. He's going to have a really hard time, especially for the next couple years. And therefore I don't, we will see, we will analyze the chart together. Before I'm going to close his chart, another thing I want to mention about the opposition of Saturn and Mercury. When we have such a opposition of Saturn and Mercury, it's for Mercury, Saturn really want to teach Mercury how to restrict when you speak, when you manipulate other people with because you remember Scorpio, the master of manipulation. They can be very devoted, and with Saturn in the Taurus, it's hardworking people. But when in its in 10th house, but as soon Saturn can see you're not bring spirituality, which is his midheaven here, he can be unbelievable spiritual leader if he want, but not necessary in the political realm. I think it's not going to do good to him, and it's not going good to him. And because the combination of Moon in Mars, which is can provide him some really bad reputation, and can bring, so to say, public will suddenly will see him from completely different way, because his chart so contradicted. This is what's happened really with him. Initially, public really accept him and really want him, and was hoping he's going to bring so many changes and so many progress to this amazing, amazing country. And instead, what's happened, because his moon in Pisces in the 8th house, he was actually misled by his own self. So this is not strong combination on emotional level for the leader of the country. Okay, guys, I hope this information can give you more perspective. And hopefully, when you look at your own chart, because when you look at your own chart, it's really healing. It's really important to understand your own chart in order for you to know how to manipulate certain energy and to work with certain energy in order to feel more balanced. Okay, so before I'm going to close, I want to wish Justin Trudeau really to find himself, what really light of creator wants him, the creator within him, and not necessarily what his ego looking for. And this is really, really important, because end of the day, there's nothing we're going to take with us when we leave this world. The only thing we're going to take with us is the understanding of the light of creator in this dimension, the creator, how much we use the power of the creator within us in this dimension, how much we knew how to share, how to give the love to people, and how to achieve our goals, and how to achieve our purpose, why we came here in the first place. Thank you so much, guys. I'm looking forward for connecting to you more. And if this video brought you some information, good information, and please don't forget to like, to subscribe. Thank you so much, and all the best. Bye bye.